YouTube, how we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo. And this is another episode of Yo Hoops. We go through every NBA game every day. Today's Monday, February 10th, and we have a 10-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through every game, let you know which sides I like, and stick around because I'll let you know my highlighted play of the day. I do this every day for free, so make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite games in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's recap. Recapping yesterday, we dropped our highlighted play of the day. We took the Houston Rockets laying 9 points against the Toronto Raptors. Following the theme that we've been on recently, the Raptors got out to an early lead in this one, and the Rockets came all the way back to win the game by 7 points. So they blew the cover by 1 bucket. There were live opportunities in this game. Like I always say, keep an eye on the live lines because throughout the second quarter, the money line was plus money for the Rockets. I overall ended up making money on this game just because you were getting such good odds with Houston early, but we did drop our 7th highlighted play in a row. I know, it's crazy, guys. I got swept overall on the NBA card yesterday. It was only a 3-game card, but the Chiefs also got absolutely aired out and exposed in the Super Bowl. It was a super tough day for me overall, but at your low, there's only one way to go. We going up, we getting back today. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. In our first matchup, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Orlando taking on the Orlando Magic. Magic are laying 5 points, and the total is 222. These are two teams that have been headed in different directions recently. The Hawks have been impressive. They've now covered against the spread in 5 straight games, while the Magic on the other side are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5. We know they've looked terrible. I've tried to back them in spots. Orlando typically does play their best basketball at home where they are today. They're 12-6 against the spread in this spot, but the Hawks are a solid 12-9 against the spread as road underdogs. So even though Orlando does play their best ball at home, Atlanta plays some good ball on the road. Looking at the injury reports for this game, Jalen Suggs is ruled out for the Magic. And on the Hawks side, Trae Young is doubtful and Jalen Johnson is ruled out. Normally, I wouldn't want to back the Hawks with no Trae Young. He's my favorite player on the team, but they have added guards through trades recently, like Karis LeVert and Gorgeous Niang, and they hooped in their debuts. They looked good last game playing for Atlanta. Until the Magic show me something, I gotta fade them. We're taking the Hawks plus the 5 points as our first selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves in Cleveland taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs are laying 9.5 points, and the total is 229.5. The Wolves have some key pieces injured in this one, so make sure you guys keep an eye on how the injury report develops throughout the day. Looking at it here, Mike Conley and Anthony Edwards are both questionable, and then Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo are ruled out for this one. They need Ant to go against the Cavs. The Cavs are without Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro. This is definitely a favorable spot for Cleveland, especially Ant and Mike Conley being injured. But I do have to mention how well the Wolves have played recently. They're on a 3-game win streak right now, and as road underdogs, they're now 6-2 against the spread. We know the Wolves are horrible at home ATS, but hey, on the road, you've been making money. I'm not necessarily in a rush to fade Minnesota like I'm saying because they've been playing well, but I think Cleveland gets the cover here. They're just the far dominant team, and we're getting some value if Ant or Mike Conley is ruled out. We're taking the Cavs laying the 9.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the San Antonio Spurs in Washington taking on the Washington Wizards. Spurs are laying 11 points, and the total is 236.5. These teams have had very different results from a betting perspective recently. The Spurs have now failed the cover against the spread in 8 straight meetings. They've lost 8 straight. I know the feeling. The Wizards on the other side are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. They've started to, dare I say it, look good. The Wizards have been competing and even winning games recently. The Spurs have been slightly overrated with the hype of Wemby and now the hype of De'Aaron Fox. I even was buying into it, I can't lie, and they lost games outright as 11-point favorites during this run. The thing for me, though, is the Wizards are extremely banged up here. So when you look at the injury reports, Alex Sarr, Anthony Gill, Chris Middleton, and Marcus Smart are all ruled out, and then Keyshawn George is questionable. Of course, they traded Kuzma for Middleton, so like I said, the Wizards are extremely shorthanded. The Spurs are just without Charles Bassey and Riley Minix. Like I said, I'm not in a rush to back San Antonio. I feel like they are slightly overrated, but they should air out the Wizards by 20 plus here. So we're taking the Spurs laying the 11 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Boston Celtics in Miami taking on the Miami Heat. Celtics are laying 6 points, and the total is 219. 6 points seems like a small spread for this game, but when I look further, the Celtics do come into this one banged up. Looking at their injury reports, Drew Holiday and Torrey Craig are both ruled out, and then Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both questionable. I do want to see if they play, but the line to me suggests that at least one of them aren't going to go here. On the Heat side, Jaime Jaquez is the only one who's questionable. The Celtics have won the last 4 meetings dominantly between the Heat and the Celtics, but with the new additions to the Heat, I do think that they can compete with Boston being banged up here. The Heat now have Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Alec Burks all going in this game. They added firepower and defense to their roster. The Celtics are the worst team in the league coming off of an ATS win. They aired out the Knicks by 30 in their last game, but when they win ATS, like I'm saying, they're now 7-28 on the season at coming off that win. So if they win ATS, they normally follow it right up with an ATS loss. That being said, I do think Miami competes here. We're taking the Heat plus the 6 points as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Charlotte Hornets in Brooklyn taking on the Brooklyn Nets. Nets are laying 4 points, and the total is 212.5. This isn't my favorite game on the board here. Looking at the injury reports, the Hornets have Nick Smith Jr., LaMelo Ball, and Josh Green all listed as questionable. And then the Nets have Noah Clowney, Cam Thomas, and Bojan Bogdanovic ruled out. D'Angelo Russell is also questionable. The thing for me is that Brooklyn typically plays their best ball on the road. As home favorites, they're only 1-4 against the spread on the season. The Hornets have hooped as road dogs. They're now 11-6-1 against the spread as road underdogs. They've been cooking in this spot. Since Charlotte is getting the points and they're the dog in this one, even though, like I said, it's a lean for me at best, we're taking the Hornets plus the 4 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Golden State Warriors in Milwaukee taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Warriors are laying 6.5 points, and the total is 231.5. The Warriors made the biggest swing in the NBA since 1998 in their last outing against the Bulls. They were down 24 points and ended up winning the game by 21. I was watching that game. I've never seen anything like that. Once Jimmy Butler started rolling, the Warriors looked real good. Steph Curry is questionable for this game, though. On the Bucks side, they'll be without Giannis, and then Pat Connaughton is questionable himself. The Bucks do come into this one on a second leg of a back-to-back. They beat the Sixers comfortably yesterday. Jimmy Butler and Draymond together, that's a lethal threat. I really like the combo, and it looks like they're feeding off of each other. I loved what I saw in the second half of that Warriors game once they started clicking, and I think they have it rolling now. I don't want to step in front of them in this one. We're taking the Warriors laying the 6.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the New Orleans Pelicans in Oklahoma City taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder are laying 15.5 points, and the total is 235. The Pelicans are a bit of a tough team for me to figure out. Sometimes they look like they can compete with any team in the league, and sometimes they look like the Wizards out there. In their last game against the Kings, Zion did drop 40 points, and CJ McCollum dropped 31. They did get the cover in that game, but they also lost by 5 points. So even with Zion dropping 40 and McCollum dropping 31, they still lost the game outright. As road underdogs, the Pelicans are now just 7-13 against the spread. They're in the bottom 3 in the league in this spot. The Thunder are number 2 home favorites in the league, now 17-8-1 against the spread. So like I said, these are two teams in very different spots. The Pelicans are horrible road dogs. Thunder are the best home favorites, or the second best. Isaiah Joe is ruled out for this game, but the Thunder do have Chet Holmgren back in the lineup, and that's huge. I think the Thunder air out the Pels by 20 plus here. I know we got burned laying the points against the Raptors last time we took the Thunder, but we're right back on them. They're the far better team, and we know what they do at home in Oklahoma City. We're taking the Thunder laying the 15.5 as our highlighted selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Mavs are laying 1 point, and the total is 236.5. This is a pick'em game here. The Mavericks look good ever since acquiring AD like a new team. They won their last 2 games in dominant fashion, but AD did sustain a groin injury that they're now saying will last at least a month. That's tragic because he came out absolutely hooping. In 30 minutes, he had 26, 16, and 7. It was looking like a problem. The Mavs looked like they were headed straight to the Western Conference Finals in their last game. The Mavs are banged up besides AD as well. So Derek Lively, Dwight Powell, and Caleb Martin are ruled out. And then Max Christie, PJ Washington, and Dante Exum are all questionable for this one. The Kings on the other side, though, haven't impressed me since acquiring Zach LaVine. You heard Malik Monk joking the other day. They asked Malik how he feels about Zach LaVine being on the team, and he said, "This guy don't hit no threes with us." Even his own teammates are joking about him being trash. While the injuries do make this a favorable spot for the Kings, the injuries on the Mavs side, I like the way the rest of the Mavs team has played. They're used to dynamic changes in their lineup. They've been playing without Luka, without Maxi Kleber, without Kyrie for half the season. They should be able to win this game. We're taking the Mavs on the money line. It's only minus 115 odds as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Portland Trailblazers in Denver taking on the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are laying 9.5 points, and the total is 232.5. The Blazers' win streak finally came to an end in their last one. They had covered against the spread in 11 straight games. Super impressive, but they did get aired out by the Timberwolves in Minnesota in their last outing. And we know Minnesota is horrible against the spread at home, so that's interesting that they aired out the Blazers. Looking at the injury report for this game, it is concerning. So Robert Williams, Jeremy Grant, and Chris Murray are all questionable, and then Matisse Thybulle is ruled out. On the Nuggets side, they are still without Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson, and then Michael Porter Jr. is questionable. Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are probable. We know what the Nuggets do in the Mile High City. They're now 12-7-1 against the spread as home favorites, and that's going through some cold stretches. They were losing quite a few games in the middle of the season, yet they still have a dominant ATS record at home. Now that they've heated up, the Nuggets are currently on a 6-game win streak. They've been rolling teams. I think they have no problems airing out the Blazers. We're taking the Nuggets laying the 9.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our last and final matchup of the evening, we have the Utah Jazz in Los Angeles taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers are laying 12.5 points, and the total is 235. This should be the debut of Luka in a Lakers jersey. That's exciting, and I'm definitely going to be tuned into this one. The Lakers have been hooping recently. There's no other way to put it. They're currently on a 5-game win streak and looking dominant in all 5 meetings. They beat the Pacers comfortably in their last outing, and that was without LeBron James. Austin Reeves dropped 45 points himself. The Jazz on the other side have been a tough team for me to figure out. They win in spots where they're supposed to get aired out, and then they lose by 20 in spots where they're supposed to be competitive. Taking a look at the injury reports for this one, for the Lakers, Luka, LeBron, and Dalton Knecht are all questionable. Like I said, Luka should go, but no promises. Cam Reddish is ruled out, and then Austin Reeves is probable. On the Jazz side, Colin Sexton and Taylor Hendricks are ruled out. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lakers air out the Jazz in this spot in Luka's debut, all the hype in Crypto Arena, but I can't start laying double digits with the Lakers. I'm sorry to tell you guys. They're still lacking big man presence after rescinding the Mark Williams trade, and I think bigs like Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler should match up well here and at least keep the Jazz competitive, if not give them a chance to win this game outright. We're taking the Jazz plus the 12.5 as our last and final selection of today. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We got to get right on the highlighted plays today. We are on a 7-game highlighted losing streak. We're 2-7 on all highlighted plays in February. Like I've been telling you, though, it's my mission to get us back and get us positive by the end of February. In the new year, we're still positive on all highlighted plays and on every game played in the new year. We're positive significantly, hitting at a 56% clip. But I need to get right on this highlighted. I appreciate you guys tuning in so much. Like I've been saying, man, fade me if you have to. Fade me if do what you got to do. Because 8 games, 7 games in a row is insane one way or another. But I'm going to do this every day for free. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo. And until the next one, I'm going to catch y'all. Peace.